Now, Dylan Mortensen stated she did not see the figure well enough to describe them to a composite artist, and she did not recognize Brian Koberger when she was shown a photo of him. The document also states that shortly after seeing Brian Koberger, she went downstairs to Bethany's room. The two girls fell asleep, and 911 was called at 11:56 a.m., which is 100% bullshit in my opinion. Okay, so let's pause right now for some questions that I have. Number one, what made Dylan Mortensen feel safe enough to leave her room? She traveled past Xana's room where her and Ethan was and went downstairs to Bethany's room. What made her feel safe? And at what point did she allegedly unfreeze, as you guys claim she was frozen into shock? And most of you claim for quite some time that she was frozen into shock the entire 8 hours, which these new documents 100% disproves that, by the way. Next, the two girls fell asleep, which is completely bullshit, as then that's just my opinion, as well to me, which contradicts their alleged fear from those text messages that we've seen. The text messages give off the narrative that they were so afraid, but not afraid that Dylan left outside of her room, walked past Xana's room, and went downstairs to Bethany's room, and they allegedly fell asleep. Bullshit. To be fearful as those text messages try to portray they were, you're calling 911 right away. You're calling someone right away. You're not waiting 8 goddamn hours. You're not waiting. If you are that afraid, trust me when I say you cannot sleep. Now, in those texts, when Dylan Mortensen was stating that her phone was about to die, to me, this was all set in the scene. This was all staged, in my opinion, okay? When she said that, and from my humble opinion, given from what I gathered, she was still inside her bedroom, okay? I'm quite sure she has a charger in her bedroom. So it took less effort, honestly, for her to get up, get her charger, plug her phone in, instead of getting up, walking around the corner to go down to Bethany's room, which I will give you a visual of the layout really quick. It takes less effort for Dylan Mortensen in her bedroom over there to get up and get her charger than for her to leave out her door, go around the corner, go down the stairs to Bethany's room. Now, back to the motion in limine number 7, which is the witness by bushy eyebrows. On page 3 of this motion, it states it was confusing to DM that the intruder looked at her but did not come towards her or say anything to her. Are y'all really believing this? It was confusing to Dylan Mortensen that this intruder looked at her but did not come towards her or say anything to her. Complete bullshit. And yet some people are still going to believe this. Now, Dylan Mortensen called Bethany. It states before she went downstairs, Dylan Mortensen said to Officer Nunes that she was kind of out of it and was really tired. God, how are people buying this? Now, this is where it gets pretty interesting, so pay attention. In Dylan's room, okay, when officers searched it and took pics of Dylan Mortensen's bedroom, they found drawings of people with eyebrows, many of which Dylan Mortensen had drawn herself, this document states. The officer found human figures that Dylan Mortensen also drew, with emphasis on the eyes and eyebrows, that was pinned to her corkboard in her room. Now, mind you, her room was searched after all of this, okay? I believe before Brian Koberger was even arrested. So how are people not paying attention to this important fact? How are people not paying attention that she has pictures that she drew herself of people's eyes and their eyebrows, distinct pictures, and yet she wasn't able to describe the eyebrows or the eyes to the composite artist? Like, wake up, people. Read the room. Oh, but it gets better. Hold on to your seat now. Now, Dylan Mortensen's second interview that was conducted on November 17, 2022 with Detective Gooch, she indicated she was really asleep and probably very drunk when woke up around 4 a.m., which we know from the original PCA is when all of this stuff began to happen. Now, she wasn't very drunk to get up 3 times, but I digress. Did they take Dylan Mortensen's alcohol level? Did they track her stat? Where was she? Was she at a bar? Was she at a friend's house? Where was she? Can somebody account to her allegedly being very drunk? Did they ask Bethany? Was when Dylan came downstairs to her room, was she very drunk? Did she seem very drunk to you? Those are important questions. Now listen, in this interview with the Detective Gooch or Officer Gooch, Dylan Mortensen also stated when she saw the intruder, she thought the intruder was about 3 feet away from her. But she then says that could be off because she was drunk. We keep going back to this, I was drunk. Get out of here. All You are experiencing and remembering a lot for somebody who was allegedly very drunk. But I digress. Let's get back to this 3 feet. She believed the intruder was 3 feet. That's such a distinctive measurement. That's such a very pinpoint thing to say. Do you guys know the length of 3 feet? 3 feet is like the length of a standard baseball bat. It's like three 2-liter sodas lined up together. It's not that much space in between her and this intruder who allegedly saw her but didn't talk to her and didn't walk towards her. Now this is the good part for me here. Dylan Mortensen, during this interview with Officer Gooch, she also states to the officer that she watched Criminal Minds and fell asleep to a crime podcast. Now, for you guys who want to say, oh, Brian Koberger did this because he was studying criminology, he knows how to get away with it, blah, blah, blah. So, can I not use the same argument? First of all, that's a baseless argument, okay? With me studying criminology and criminal justice, I wouldn't know how to get away with something like this. I wouldn't even have the brain capacity to try and orchestrate something like that, okay? Because my mind is not wired like that. You are not a weird individual because of what you major in or because of what you study. But moving back along, so she watched Criminal Minds and she fell asleep to a crime podcast. So that leads me to believe that she was a true crime girly, that she watched true crime and knows stuff about true crime, which I'm quite sure she do, because I don't know if you guys saw that picture of her where she was holding a sharp-edged weapon, which I will not say on this app. But I do have the picture in case anybody wants to see it. I will upload it to my YouTube. They are literally giving us evidence in these documents, and you guys are still choosing to turn your head. Some of you guys, not all of you. She was watching Criminal Minds, so she fell asleep to a true crime podcast. So she wasn't just randomly watching this. Obviously, this is her pattern. This is her genre that she likes to watch. So she has some knowledge about true crime and things like that. She has some knowledge about reading the room, trusting your gut, knowing when things are wrong, knowing when to call 911. Okay, so now I'm moving on to the motion, which is the 911 call. And my question is, why did Dylan Mortensen call her dad at 11:40? Why did you call your dad before you called first responders? And that really supports my thought or theory that she knows someone that's connected to law enforcement in some way, shape, form, or fashion. You call your dad before you call first responders? Like, what the fuck? Sorry for my language, but I am so frustrated about people not seeing what's in front of their face regarding this case. People just want to go with the popular narrative that Brian Koberger is the person who did this, the sole person who did this, end of discussion. No, not end of discussion on my watch. And then one of the person who was speaking to 911 EA, they stated, oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. That statement haunts me, okay? That's in the 911 transcript. I'm not making that up. You saw someone, a man in their house last night, but you didn't call 911. Now, the snippets or the transcript that we have from this 911 call confuses me a little bit because it seems to be very focused on Xana and Xana being unconscious. Listen to me and listen to me clearly. Xana had defensive wounds. She fought. Okay, she fought to the point where her fingers were almost severed. Okay, have you ever cut yourself a small little cut and your finger bleed like crazy? Imagine fighting, trying to protect yourself against this sharp-edged weapon and your fingers almost being severed. But then you have these people who allegedly come and find you and report you to the 911 dispatcher as being unconscious or they can't wake you. You mean to tell me they didn't see any fucking blood? Blood was dripping outside of that house. None of this makes sense, and I need you guys to wake up. Put your emotions to the side because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of people saying you don't know what it feels like. You've never been in shock. I don't think like that, okay? Because that's going to cloud my judgment like it clouds yours. Why is this 911 call solely being based upon Xana? Okay, because Ethan allegedly was in the room too, according to this original PCA, which is why I started with the original PCA, because that is the foundation of this entire case. And it proves all of the discrepancies that exist in this case to date. At 4:24 a.m., Dylan Mortensen calls Ethan. At 4:27 a.m., Dylan Mortensen calls Kaylee. No answers. At 4:32 a.m., DM sent a text to Kaylee saying, please answer. And then we all know the next morning at 10:23, this document states Dylan Mortensen sent a message to Kaylee and Maddie saying, please answer and are you okay? Obviously, when Dylan Mortensen called these people at 4-something in the morning, it's because she felt something was wrong. So why did you not call 911?